Right.
I can't even do that.
Right.
I wouldn't even try to do that sound that you just made with your mouth.
Hell yeah. Well, hey, what's up, guys? We are here on the K-RAD Radio podcast, and I'm super stoked because we've got a band that I've actually seen a couple times and been like, fuck yes. Literally every single time I've seen these guys, Radiofix.
Awesome.
So I'm super stoked that you guys were able to come on.
Thanks, man. We're excited to be here. This is our first year doing the Mesa Music Festival, and it's been pretty awesome so far. We played last night, a little set at the Bam Bodega, and then we're going to be playing at the Desert Eagle Brewing Company stage right outside here, so at 8:30. But we're excited. We had a great time last night. We're going to kick it again tonight and be hanging out, meeting new artists, and we took the last 6 months. We were kind of really fine-tooth combing about 12 songs that we've been working on for a little over a year, getting them ready to release. So we're going to do our first single January 7th. First Tuesday of 2020, we'll drop our first single off that album. And
that's amazing. I feel like the one time that, like, I still have this image of you, and every time I hear the song, it comes on, I always think of you specifically. It was at Crescent Ballroom, and you guys were covering Possum Kingdom by the Toadies.
Yes.
And I remember seeing it, and I was like, holy shit, the Toadies are here. And I was like, wait a second, no. And I was like, who are these guys? And then I found out that you guys are from here, and I was like, that's incredible. And like, I love the raw fucking rock and roll, man. You know, like it punches you in the gut. It's real fucking music.
That song does that to you. So if you perform it well, you know, we give most of our credit to the song. I mean, we rehearsed it to make sure it was perfectly what we wanted, but that song just really gets inside your gut. There's just something about it. And I bought that album when it came out, and I was in grade school or junior high, I can't remember. And me and my buddies used to pass it around until it got too scratched up, and then we'd go to Zia and buy a new one and pass it around. So I go way back with that song. I've seen Toadies a few times, Burden Brothers, just great guys, great rockers.
Right.
You know, 90s.
That's my favorite, man. Like that's why I was stoked when I saw you guys too, is that it has that like raw 90s feel to it. You know what I mean? And I feel like that sound is so important in the scene to keep that going, because a lot of music that comes out now, and taking nothing away from the music that's out now, but as opposed to all electronic or some of the artists where you only hear, a great version of that music when it's from a studio, and then you go see someone
right.
like you guys, and it's like you can tell, like, you're supposed to go out and watch the music. You're supposed
right.
to go to the show.
Yeah.
You just see it. And I think with a lot of the music nowadays, especially in like the mumble rap and like some of the SoundCloud rap, it's cool because it's new and it's different. But I think that me personally, at least, will always be a special place in my heart for like raw 90s like vibes.
Yeah, we're, Temple of the Dog, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots were huge influences for me, and the rest of the guys to an extent. We all came from a little bit different musical backgrounds, but we kind of stayed true to that 90s stuff, and it comes out. A little bit of 70s too that comes out with the Gibson guitar sound, but
for sure,
that 90s, especially Chris Cornell, I went and saw him play at Mesa Amphitheater a couple years back, and it was just him by himself with an acoustic, and he got you.
Wow.
There was 3,000 people sitting there just watching him play his acoustic, and they were awestruck. And that gets you excited about music, makes you want to do it, And
100%. It's that feeling, you can feel it in your bones.
Yeah.
And it's there's so much truth, or the way that it's conveyed. It's like the frequency, or whatever you want to call it, it just captures you, right?
Exactly.
And I really respect that you guys have that ability too, you specifically too.
Awesome.
But yeah, man. I mean, tell me a little bit about this new record. What's the vibe like coming into it?
It's we like to put the songs together. It's not a concept album, but we like them to kind of have the same, not even vibe, but you can tell the story is kind of going through emotion. So, you know, it kind of goes on a little roller coaster where we're starting off nice and quick and tight, and then it kind of turns the corner and gets a little acoustic-y, and you know, and then we softly close it out. But it's got a little bit more twang on this one and a little more bluesy mixed in with the 90s. So we kind of went on this little bit of a 7-chord twinge, and it gives it a little extra, that little tiny blues twang to go along with the 90s thing we were kind of already doing. And the songs they're stories. You know, we want you to start listening to it, and it's not just about the vibe, the headbang or whatever. You know, we're kind of hoping that you're listening through the song and your imagery starts going, and then you get resolution at the end. So that was kind of where we were going with it. It took us 15 months to put these together the way we wanted them. We did them, a few different ways. Didn't work the way we wanted it to work, so we went back to the drawing board a few times, and we were finally able to kind of get them where we wanted them, a little more raw, a little less produced, and a little more raw on the raw side. So you kind of feel like you're kind of sitting there watching us, as opposed to too much massive production.
Right, trying to capture that gut feeling that you get when you see it. Because I think that's it's so important to capture the emotion, within the song. And I think that just as a recording artist too, when you're in the booth and it's like, all right, take 30 on whatever line or whatever riff, I feel like there's something to feeling or visualizing what you're talking about, or the emotion behind what you're playing while you're recording it. Right. I feel like that's the only true way to capture that. So exactly. I think that if we're talking on the same thing, I think that that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, we all try to be in the same room while we're doing each part. If we're not doing it together, then we're all sitting there, so we're vibing and getting everything down. So it's got the feel there as if you were sitting there watching us play in your living room. And that's kind of the vibe we want to give off, because like you were saying earlier about live sets, the art is coming to see the live show, and that's where you want to really get a good gut punch for people. Right. We want them to listen to the song and fall in love with it because it's a good story, but then we want them to come to the show and go, holy hell, these guys know what these guys are going to kick some ass. That right. You get a little bit of both of it.
Win them over. Yeah. And I think that's something too, especially in the local scene, it's really hard to get that message across of how important it is. And I don't know if it's from maybe some bands not seeing as many national performers, but that importance of winning over the audience when you're live, right? And finding a way to capture their full attention with your set instead of just going through the motions, or because I know especially if it's a newer song, you're thinking about, oh, am I playing this part right, blah blah blah, but all of that goes into account, I feel with your live performance, with are these guys confident in what they're playing, is it coming through the way that it should? And I think you guys do an excellent job of doing that.
It's got to be tight, but you got to put it all out there too. So it's a little bit of both when you're performing. If you don't want to get sloppy when you're getting into it. So our whole niche is we rehearse.
Sure. So how often do you guys rehearse?
Probably 3 times a week, as much as possible. 3, 4, or 5 hour sessions 3 times a week. Wow. As much as we can.
Right.
If we've got an extra day, we'll pull a Saturday morning and spend the whole day together, maybe eat some lunch, whatever. Because you got to be in it together to get that out there. You
do. What advice would you give to some up-and-comers in the local scene that have the drive, but they haven't quite connected yet on capturing that essence, or they're wanting to go to the next level, but they haven't had any luck yet?
Rehearse. Over and over and over again. There's nothing better than going to a show knowing that you're going to nail it. knowing that your bro's gonna nail it, and your drummer's gonna nail it, your bass player's gonna nail it, you guys, then you're up there having fun. It's second nature.
Right.
You know, you have a tendency to get stiff if you're not comfortable with the tracks, you know, and they're your
Makes
tracks,
sense.
but so it sounds silly, but you still, if you get that little butterfly going, then you just stiffen up. So as a musician as a whole, it would be rehearse, and then especially together, because you can't fake that. Either you rehearsed all week together or you didn't.
Right.
And then you can't put a ribbon on that. You either did it or you didn't. So that would be my advice. I don't know if Ben, you got any extra advice on aspiring bass players out there trying to make it to the next level?
Bass players in particular, just
Or bands?
yeah, bands in general. Yeah,
Rhythm
like,
section.
Yeah, like you said, playing
Rhythm
together,
section.
because that's where you're gonna figure out. I mean, be honest. You know, all of you together. You know, you don't want to kiss each other's. You know, about if something's not working or you think, then be honest. Then we should change this part. Don't worry about hurting someone else's feelings. About, you know, if you want to work a part out, you know, you can't just let that slide. If everyone's voices and everyone's ears got to be on it. All right, let's make this the best it can be. So you can't hold that back.
And we're
Those
big
are
on
two really good points.
We're big on, to go along with what he was saying, let's try it. So
hear it
Yeah,
out, right?
yeah,
Yep.
if
Yeah.
George, our bass or our drummer, you know, comes up with an idea, me and him are kind of like,
He wants to play a crazy
we
time
go, hey,
signature.
let's
try it.
we start with let's try it,
Right.
And if it works, it works, and you'd be surprised how many diamonds you find
Yeah.
trying something. Whereas if you guys go, no, that's gonna sound like X before you even try it. So, you know, always throwing it out there. That stuff starts to move, and you got to go for it.
100%. And I want to latch on to those two first things you said too. One about, you know, as far as rehearsing. Like I remember Flea, even, you know, bassist for Red Hot Chili Peppers. He talks about how he practices, you know, 3 hours a day, and how he feels like he's not on his game if he's not, like if he misses a day, he's like, oh man, I'm fucking up, you know. And to hear that from Flea.
Right.
It's almost like, it's weird, right? It's like playing an instrument's like riding a bike, but you ride that bike way shittier every day that goes by that you don't ride the bike.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So,
And there's no crash course.
exactly.
Either you're doing it, you're doing it. You can't just go, well, I'm going to pack it all in 3 days before the set.
Can't cram for it.
Can't
Yeah.
cram for
It's
it.
the worst. I've done that before. It's the worst. And then what you had said too about you want to hear your friend out, and you want to be respectful, but you have to kind of be, I don't want to say be an asshole, but you have to try and be as objective as you can about what you're hearing.
Right.
Because when someone comes to you with an idea, you know, when it's someone's idea, it's really hard not to take it personal.
Right,
as the
right.
person who originates the idea of like, guys, I'm hearing this in my head and I think this would sound cool. And then like when you play that and it doesn't come out the right way, or it's not what the rest of the members think, I think that's where a lot of the communication issues with bands and, you know, unfortunate things happen. But I think that what you had said about hearing everyone out, you know, and then coming to a decision as a collective, like
Yeah.
that's what we do in my band, No Refills. It's always like, hey, I hate that idea, but let's try it. you
Yeah.
know?
And that's what you do,
Yeah.
you know?
As long as no one's ego is above the song, right? So it's not about my ego or his ego or which one of us gets. It's if we're all like, what makes a song better, and being honest about it, then it's good to go. And we're good. It's good that we're a three-piece, because usually what you said, if two are on one page and one's on the other, then the third one's usually, they're probably right. They're probably right. If we got two
Right.
votes
It's the
to
path
one.
of least resistance here. I'm not gonna rock the boat. But no, man, that's huge. As far as any kind of targeted release dates for the new work, do you guys have? You said the single's gonna come out in January.
Yeah, so All Night Long, which is a nice amped up version of what you would want from Radiofix. If you came and saw us live, or if you knew us from last year or something, you're gonna like this one. So we're dropping that one first, January 7th. I think that's the first Tuesday in January 2020. So we're working. We shot some new stills with Mark Marianovich. He's out of LA. He came out here. Great guy. Check him out. He just, I mean, he gave us droves of pictures and they're all excellent. So we you know, we're in pre-production on the music video for the new single. And we're gonna do 3 or 4 videos, kind of single them out next year. But the first one's gonna be January 7th.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait. And I did want to ask you too, because you guys are on that level. Because there's levels to everything, right? And like you guys are clearly on another level in like the quote unquote local scene, right? So if there were to be some acts now that are in a bucket that you guys want to be as like the next step for you guys, the next level, are there a few artists that you could see yourself going on tour with, or are there like bucket list folks that maybe you'd like to go out on the road and be a part of, or have you thought about that at all?
I love this band called Royal Thunder out of Atlanta, Georgia, but they've done a lot of touring. Love to play with them. They're heavy. Singer, she sings like Janis Joplin, crushes it. They're amazing. But I have a few bands, but that's far away. But are you talking locally here, or?
Well, no. I mean, just I guess break it up. But locally, is there any local bands that you haven't played with yet that you dig their sound you'd like to play with? And then are there any national bands that tour all over that you would like to play with as like a goal, or it's like, hey, why not kind of situation?
I was particularly fascinated. They've been around for a minute now, but Royal Blood, who I'm sure you've heard of.
Love Royal Blood. Yes.
They, there's so much music. There's
Right.
so much stuff that comes out every day.
Right.
And it's just bombardment. Obviously, they've came out swinging, and they're doing really well, which I'll salute. But I thought it was really fun what they did with that album, and especially just with that whole 2-piece thing. And I went and saw them live when they came to Marquee Theater. Just an awesome show. They put on a great show. A lot of energy. Would love to play a gig with them.
Yeah, sure.
Might be a little out of the ballpark
Shout out
for
to
now.
Royal Blood.
Yeah, shout out to Royal
Check
Blood.
out Radiofix.
But locally, like on Fansgiving, which is a benefit show for Solid Rock Foundation. Alice Cooper has a foundation called Solid Rock.
Sure.
And the night before Thanksgiving, we do a show with Black Bottom Lighters and
I saw
Hourglass
that.
Cats.
Yeah, that one's coming up pretty soon.
All those cats are really cool. Really great guys. That show it's free / name your ticket price. It all goes to charity. It all goes to the Solid Rock Foundation thing, which is a great charity that Alice Cooper does. We're doing that, and that's the night before Thanksgiving. That's going to be a killer show.
Fuck yeah.
It's at the Rebel Lounge, which is one of my personal favorite venues in Arizona. We played there back when it was the Mason Jar, when we were knee high, but great venue. Yeah, Black Bottom Lighters that's a great. We're buddies with those guys. It's just a great group of guys.
Yeah. They've been a staple in the scene for a while. They
Yeah.
sound fantastic. I love them a lot.
So we do some stuff, hanging out with those cats, and then Hourglass Cats are also really good, really great.
Right on.
Jam
Have you guys ever heard of Wives?
Yes, I was just gonna bring up Wives as
Yeah,
well.
they're fucking sick. I love those guys.
We played with them a couple different times, and we would play with them anytime. I mean, we kind of go well together. We've got kind of a nice rock vibe there. They've got kind of a Gibson rock vibe going as well.
Right.
The music's awesome. So, yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I guess too, since it is your guys' first time at the Mesa Music Festival, as far as keeping this thing going, because I know that for the fans being able to have access to a free show, it's a really unique thing. It's super accessible, and I feel like the fact that they get the national touring acts that come through is a pretty cool concept just in general. But are there any festivals that you guys are playing? Are there any upcoming? Do you guys have all of your any dates booked out for releasing of the album, or is that kind of next for you guys?
That's kind of next on the agenda. We
Sure.
like the festival circuit. We like there's a few festivals, All American Fest, and there's a bunch of St. Patty's that around the March area.
Pot of Gold's huge, and all those
Pot of
ones
Gold.
at Margaret T. Hance, if you've been there, the park in downtown Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the Tempe Beach Park
Tempe Beach
situation
Park,
over there,
Oktoberfest.
because Lucky Man, like, do you guys prefer any other promoters or any other? Because as when you're in a local band, right, and you're trying to connect the dots, it's like, did you guys always just do everything from the ground up on your own, or did you guys ever outsource any of the management, or how did that process work as far as with finding some of the bigger shows or finding yourselves in these situations with bigger festivals or playing with bigger artists?
Well, you got to keep your ear to the ground and you got to know really far in advance. I think one of my big goals that I keep pushing off to the side would be the Apache Lake Music Festival. I really want to get on that one next year. And you got to get on top of those festivals. They book up fast, so it's not
Right.
like the month before you can be like, hey, there's no slots.
Right.
So that's kind of next on the agenda for us. We've been inundated probably too far into finishing the recorded music.
It's like you guys crawled out of the cave.
Yeah,
and you're like,
we
"We've
crawled out of the
emerged."
cage and we're like, all right, we got to play some shows. Who do we want? Where do we start? Places like Rebel Lounge, we like doing shows like that.
Yeah.
The smaller venues. Crescent Ballroom is a blast to play also.
That's a cool
Love
place to
that
play.
venue.
Yeah.
Rock Bar in Scottsdale.
Rock Bar's a
We
cool
Played,
place
I
to play.
think that's where we played with Wives.
We played
out
with Wives there.
That's a great place for local music scene.
Yeah, right. It's like the Rock Bar, like a lot of those dudes too. Like, because I'm a big post-hardcore fan too. So like
Yeah.
Atreyu or like As I Lay Dying, those kinds, like Devil Wears Prada, like
Yep.
those bands. A lot of the people that worked there were like involved, and I
Yep.
think one of the promoters
Justin.
that
Justin.
yes.
Yep.
And there's this British guy. I can't remember his name. He was like talking about Asking Alexandria relationships and things like that. So I feel like the scene runs deep.
Yeah,
at
he
Rock
knows
Bar,
that. It's
which is
all
cool.
musicians that are hanging out there and diehard music fans, and it's all genres. So there's a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
But Charlie Crockett played there last night, and it was packed. Like banjo playing, a lot of great country artists that are touring from all over. I've
Yeah.
seen in there, so you'll see all kinds of genres. But
That's awesome. And have you guys ever thought about, like you said, a little bit more twang in this new record, but any kind of country like situation for yourselves?
Head Over Heels gets a little bit.
Because I could almost see you guys with a heavy country band, like an alt country.
We could do,
if
going
you-
back to your festival thing, there's this awesome, I think it's called Outlaw Roadshow.
Oh yeah, you guys would be great at something like that.
And they're doing 7 dates I think it's 7 dates in March of 2020. And they do, Florida, Louisiana, a couple of Houston and Austin, this kind of thing. I'd like to get on something like that because we can vibe with a country rock. They call it outlaw country or whatever. It's kind of a, it's that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
We could definitely go with that. And we do have a little bit of twang on some of these new ones. Like he mentioned Head Over Heels. That's a great check. It's a little more on the acoustic side. We threw some Hammond B3 organ on it. So it's got that feeling. And even All Night Long, the first song we're going to drop in January, it's, with a couple of adjustments, it's damn near a country song,
The lead melody played on its own surprisingly sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's got that little twang to it, and then lyrically, a lot of the country songs have that a little bit more of a story based.
Yeah, I like that you guys do that. I like that you do that with the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's something that it's its own form of art, on its own. And when you, like you said, when you're able to build that picture in someone's head, it's like when you're reading a book, right? It's like you're picturing the story that's happening, if it was like a movie or something. At least that's what I do. And I think that lyrics are able to do that, but it's elevated because of the music behind it.
The
So if you're able to-
emotion's elevated.
Exactly, right? So it's like that emotion and like the the tension, and then the resolutions and like the writing with the music. Like it's beautiful. So
And people, the purpose as an artist is that you're able to put down on paper what I would say 100% of human beings feel at some point in their life: heartache, betrayal, you can list them. And so, you know, we try to take those from some personal experiences and be able to put them so that the fan or the listener can go, yeah, this guy knows where I'm coming from. And then
Right.
that's how they relate, because we all feel the same things over the course of our life, but not everybody can really put them into words or describe it.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, sitting on the couch with your acoustic, you come up with some lyric ideas, and then, you know, I follow the rabbit's tail wherever it leads me. Maybe the song ends up being about a girl, you know, it could be a fictitious character, you know, you kind of write a storyline for it, and then people can follow that to the end. Hopefully they get resolution, you know, and they get to you know,
Some closure.
There's something in camaraderie. People, if they know that other people are feeling the way they're feeling, it makes them feel better.
That's that connection, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want to go, you want to feel something, you want to connect with, you know, you want to connect with people, you want to connect with the art, because it makes you not feel alone. It makes you feel like someone gets you, right?
Right.
And I think that's what's so important. That's what I love about music, is that it doesn't matter what race, what gender, what, you know, socioeconomic status, like music brings people together. And when you're there at a show and you're there because of a song that you had to throw on to get you through the day, or that stopped you from fucking killing yourself, or stopped you from going off the fucking edge, or just something that made you feel fucking happy, you know what I mean? Like, that is what it's about.
And I used to do that when I was real little, not real little, but with the Counting Crows. I had August and Everything After, their first album, and we had taken a family trip overseas, and I only had a Walkman. I didn't have a Discman, but I had August and Everything After on disc, so I finagled my cassette player and my CD player to burn the disc backwards onto a cassette, and I listened to August and Everything After on like a 14-hour flight over and over and over and over and over again. Adam Duritz just being one of my huge influences, and my dad was into them, and then, you know, he kind of, you know, bought that record for me, or he bought it for himself and gave it to me, and huge influence. But Adam Duritz, Counting Crows, stories, I mean,
Right.
just story after story after story, and that was a huge influence of mine, and a fan. You know, I think about it as an influence because I'm an artist, but at the same time, I was just a fan. I mean,
Right.
He was 15 years old, and this guy's saying everything that there's a lot going on when you're 15.
Oh, my God.
And you're all over the map anyway.
Right.
So, but you know, that's what we're trying to emulate.
Sure.
With our music. It's just something that helps somebody else out,
Right.
whether maybe they want to rock. So this album's a little diverse because we've got, you know, bang your head songs on it, and we've got low key songs on it, acoustic songs on it. It's all Radiofix. You don't feel like you put another record on or anything, but,
Right.
you know, we're pretty proud of this. This we spent a lot of time on
I'm
this.
excited,
one.
man. The
We're
fact
really
you guys
proud.
put so much time into it's a really good time. I feel like sometimes people rush to get things out, and you can tell in
You
one
can
way
tell.
or another. But it has been an absolute pleasure to have you guys on the podcast. I would love to have you guys on again for more music and more artists. And we're done. Thank you, gentlemen.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Right on.
Think about what you've got coming. You only think about what's waiting on you. But I've been waiting, but I've grown I hope you can understand that if you want me to believe, I can. You walk for miles and make no distance. You cry in your pillow, but it makes no difference. I've been crying, but I've grown tired. And I hope you can understand that if you want me to believe, I can. And I hope you can understand that if you want me to believe,